Now we're going to move into how we as humans have an impact on our environment. Natural resources, these are the materials and products that are found in nature. So the focus is on nature, natural. Okay. Then ecological footprint. This is basically the total amount or total area of land and water needed to supply all the materials and energy, okay, that you use. So what you use up, you leave behind a footprint. So you're leaving behind a footprint in the ecosystem. So the sum total, the calculation of all the land we use, the water we use, all the materials we use up, the energy we absorb, okay, and then any waste we produce, this is called the ecological footprint. That last part there, any waste we leave behind, that is also very important. We don't want to be leaving behind a large footprint. Sustainability is describing, are the resources being renewed as quickly as they're being used? So if we have a population of trees and we're cutting down all the trees and not planting them, we're not going to be growing them or renewing them as quickly as they're being used. So we're not depleting all our resources. Okay, here's 3 ways to help the environment, 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Basically, reduce the amount of garbage we produce. Reuse, reuse products rather than throwing them away, and then recycle. If we can't reuse them, let's turn them into other materials or other products to make use of what we're using. Pollution is described as a substance that is added to the environment at such a fast rate that it really can't be broken down or stored or changed or even recycled because it's being added so quickly, and then it becomes a harmful substance. So this could be light energy, this could be thermal energy. If something is maybe dumped into the river or pond that's extremely hot water, it's harmful to the fish and plants and different things in that lake. So it can't be broken down that quickly, so it's going to kill off things. So that's a type of pollution. So don't just think of chemicals. This can be light pollution, this can be sound pollution, this can be different types of pollution. So the first thing that we have here under pollution are particulates. This is talking about chemicals. This is talking about a solid or a liquid microscopic particle that's suspended in the Earth's atmosphere. This can be in smoke, this can be chemically sitting on little condensation nuclei, little particles, maybe even absorbed in water, okay, floating in the clouds. Liquid pollution. This can be oil. This can be maybe even sewage. Then we have gas pollution. This is what we usually think of basically in the major cities. Many times we have gas pollution that is colorless, odorless, like carbon monoxide. If you ever had a carbon monoxide detector, the reason why you have that is because you can't see that gas. Carbon dioxide in a large amount can be harmful because it creates a greenhouse effect. It does create a warming environment, but too much of it can be harmful. Ammonia, we talked about that with the nitrogen cycle, ammonia and ammonium. Basically, if we said a lot of that is found in urine and a lot of waste products. And then basically you have your chlorofluorocarbons or CFC, which is released by a lot of factories and cars. This is very harmful to the ozone layer and the environment as well. Just like I was saying, light pollution, sound pollution, and thermal pollution are types of pollution as they can cause harm to certain things and people. This is the breakdown of certain places around the country. This specifically where I was living in Korea, sometimes we would have to wear face masks or little coverings over our face because of the chemical pollution, the pollution index. If we would look up what Raleigh's usually in the green. New York City might be a little high. I know Beijing, China is very high like this. So it can be very, very unhealthy. Okay, and this is Beijing. It's really bad. Okay, so you can see this is in some of the cities. I think this was Seoul. So this is one picture. And not a lot did we have some blue sky, but we did. But a lot of times you have that haze, that pollution. Okay, so you can see wherever it's green, it's actually very good. Okay, here's Raleigh. This was a couple years ago. The pollution index very low. Okay, so the pollutant's very low in the particulate matter. So there's that word particulate. There's microscopic solid or liquid particles. Some modifications of ecosystems. So if we change the ecosystems, so that means we're changing the biotic factors and the abiotic factors. We're changing, most likely we're going to be starting changing the non-living things, and that's going to impact the living things. So if we start mining for coal, we're ripping into the ground, and those animals that were living there now have to be moved, or they run away, they go somewhere else. They can't live in that environment anymore. Same thing with agriculture. Well, we're going to be growing plants, and we're going to be plowing fields. Well, the animals that were there, the bugs, the insects, the rabbits, whatever, now have to move on. Deforestation, cutting down the trees to build homes. That is basically, a huge factor. Now, there's two things that actually cause deforestation where we're cutting down all the trees. Number one, that's going to be starting with roads. So you can actually see the start of the roadways. And then what do we start doing? We start building houses by the roads. And you can actually see as time progresses, okay, those trees get torn down, ripped down. We have more flat areas. So starts with roads, and then second, it starts with settlements, housing. Okay, so those two are very important in the impact of deforestation or cutting down the trees. Basically, we're going to talk about biodiversity and extinction. We know extinction is when an organism dies, is no longer, that species is no longer around. So let's talk about two things that can actually prevent. Let's talk about two terms that tie in with extinction, and that is an endangered animal versus a threatened animal. An endangered animal, basically we're saying there's a very low population, but the animal still can become extinct in the near future, so we need to be aware of that. A threatened animal, they still exist in large numbers. Okay, we're endangered, it's low population. But threatened, it's large numbers, but if we continue this pace, okay, it can very easily decline, fall out, and become endangered and extinct. Okay, so a threatened animal, if all these animals are wiped out so quickly, it could be extinct very quickly, and then it'll create a catastrophic environmental change. Okay, last thing I want to just talk about, harvesting methods. Basically, we have clear cutting and patchwork. Patchwork is more of a planned cutting of trees and agriculture and so forth. So basically, the focus here is just doing smaller areas. It's interconnected, so it doesn't necessarily kill off everything. Clear cutting, it saves money, but it causes a lot of problems with flooding and erosion, loss of plants and animals. It's better for companies and jobs economically to make money, but it's not good for the environment. So patchwork clear cutting, better for the environment.